Just a little FYI, FYF. 20K sub 6 months, what's next? They been hating at first, now they calling us the best. Hit up YouTube, tell them cut the check. Just a FYI, FYF.
It's FYF Sports, man. This is Lamont. We're back with another episode. This is your daily commute show. We're bringing you guys news and sports on some of the hottest topics with a unique perspective. My name is Lamont. On other episodes, you may see our co-host, Abel Mahari of Mahari Nation Sports Podcast, and we both will be bringing you guys the facts here on FYF Sports, your one and only daily commute show. Today, we got a topic. We got to just talk about it, and it's the Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant dilemma in Brooklyn, specifically Kevin Durant. News recently has come out that Kevin Durant has told ownership that it's either me or you have to fire Steve Nash and Sean Marks. I want you guys, look, and this is not clickbait. This is absolute facts. He has given the Brooklyn Nets organization an ultimatum. Fire Steve Nash and Sean Marks, or you need to find a trade for me because I won't play. This is what we've come to in the NBA with superstars. Durant and Kyrie Irving have had the Brooklyn Nets organization in a chokehold since day one. They've called the shots. They've made all the demands. They've set out more times than they have played, whether it's injury or whether it's personal or what protests, however you want to call it. And they've created a ton of drama and they have absolutely zero to show for it after 3 years in Brooklyn. There is literally, you guys, not one single positive thing that anyone can say about the KD and Kyrie Irving era in Brooklyn so far. All of it brings negative PR and embarrassment on the court. And if that wasn't enough, now they want to keep making decisions for the front office. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous, you guys. Right? So let's just go back for 1 second. Right? Kyrie Irving and KD both handpicked Steve Nash to be their head coach, who had zero coaching experience to replace Kenny Atkinson. And Kenny Atkinson is the guy who led a young team to the playoffs and had all of the guys' respect. And now they want Steve Nash, this guy that they handpicked, out. And they're also trying to get the guy who hired Steve Nash for them. They want him fired too. Yes, the player who collected a massive check to sit out a whole year with an injury, and the guy who didn't show up to practice to party on his birthday and then missed half a season over a vaccine protest, want their coach fired. Right? The same guys, right? These guys are the same guys who pushed the team to trade for James Harden, and because of all the shenanigans, drove James Harden immediately away. In all honesty, you guys, one cannot help but feel sorry for the Nets organization right now. They did absolutely everything they could to make this work in Brooklyn. But there's just no way of pleasing Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving because of their egos, even though they've constantly failed to hold their part of the deal since they've been in Brooklyn. This is what we're dealing with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I've been in extreme support for player empowerment, player movement, player freedom. Let these guys get their money. I've been all for players not allowing organizations to handicap them and affect their careers. But what Kevin Durant is doing right now is just simply taking it to a new level. And it's starting to look embarrassing because anyone with two eyes, right? We can feel sorry for the likes of a Damian Lillard. We can feel sorry for the likes of a Bradley Beal, right? Because we literally watched those two struggle as they put up massive games, struggle to win because simply the teams around them have not been superior. But when you look at the roster that the Nets have tried to put around Kevin Durant since his tenure, since he got to Brooklyn, they've stayed in the luxury tax. They've made trades. They've gotten rid of guys that they didn't like. They've brought in guys that they want. They've absolutely done everything. Remember, Kyrie is the one that cried in a press conference saying, we don't have enough. We got to get more. This is when they had Spencer Dinwiddie and other talented players. Okay, so they go get more. They go get a James Harden. But then when James Harden is there, James Harden's looking around and saying, hold on. This is some of the laziest, sorriest stuff I've ever seen with guys sitting out. KD keeps getting injured. We got this head coach here who cannot take authority of the locker room because you guys handpicked him to be here. So while you two run rampant, he's trying to be a disciplinarian to everyone else. James Harden wanted out. Now, albeit James Harden did it the wrong way by being out of shape, injured, not telling anyone, and had a lackluster season himself, the fact still remains that this still all revolves around Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, especially Kevin Durant, because this is a guy who left OKC when they were at their peak. Yes, he was disgruntled that management let James Harden go over $2 million. We understand that. He said they could have been the first super team and the organization screwed it up. So he goes to Golden State and they have a super team. And when he's in Golden State, they do what super teams are supposed to do. They win championships. They're dominant. Yes, injuries happen, but they would have been fine once everybody came back. But you know what Kevin Durant does? Kevin Durant does what Kevin Durant does best, which is find something to cry and complain about. And winning wasn't enough for him. Kevin Durant wanted the media to be nicer to him. He wanted the media to stop saying that this was Steph Curry's team and all of these narratives, that the things that media members do. We know media is going to do a whole bunch of ridiculous things. But who cares? You're winning championships, MVPs, finals MVPs. You're playing with one of the most humble superstars in the game, Steph Curry, who doesn't care what his numbers are as long as they're winning. You have a guy in Draymond Green willing to pass you the ball every single time you want it because we know he's not going to shoot any threes. But that wasn't good enough for Kevin Durant, right? He wanted to go test and see what he could do with another organization because he didn't like how the organization, the Golden State, they didn't favor him, right? The Golden Boy, Steph Curry was there. So he leaves Brooklyn. He leaves for Brooklyn. And it was rumored before he left that he's going to team up with Kyrie Irving. He denied it, but then he goes and teams up with Kyrie Irving. Which on paper, on NBA 2K, it looks great. On paper, it looks awesome. And then they had a supporting cast around them that looked great. Then they trade for James Harden. We're like, damn, that's a three-headed beast. Vegas odds had them winning by a long shot. But then here comes the drama. Here comes all the drama, the Kyrie drama, just the disappearing acts. 1 year, killed the chemistry. Oh, the next year comes around. Oh, Kyrie Irving now can't do the vaccine. KD's trying to cover for him and all these things. Then KD goes down with injury because his body can no longer carry that load anymore. James Harden is hampered as well. James Harden wants out now because this guy Kyrie and KD, they're calling all the shots. These guys can be lazy, come and go as they please. And Steve Nash is trying to be the dictator with James Harden and all the other guys not named KD or Kyrie. So James Harden wants out. Now James Harden is out. And now we see why he wanted out of that miserable situation. And how do we know it was miserable? Well, I compel everyone. Go back and look at the games from the 2021-22 NBA season and just go look at the Brooklyn Nets bench at the start of the season. Guys would score, get dunks, amazing plays, crowd going crazy. And go watch the bench. No excitement, no cheering. Guys wasn't playing for each other. No one liked each other. You can tell there were multiple divides. Similar to how KD and Kyrie were on their respective teams. When Kyrie was in Cleveland, distant. Sometimes would go weeks without talking to anyone, wanted to do his own thing. KD never took part of group activities in Golden State, wanted to go off and hang with his boys on road trips, never came to the team dinners, wanted to do his own thing. Just naturally creating divides. Unfortunately for those two teams, they had better leaders who could take reins of that roster and take leadership in the locker room so it wouldn't go awry in LeBron James with Cleveland and then with Steph Curry and Draymond Green in Golden State. They weren't going to allow those clowns to ruin what they had going. As we just saw last year, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay have won another chip without Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant and Kyrie are starting to look like the toxic pieces. And when you put those two toxic pieces together, we've seen one of the most catastrophic breakdowns of an organization probably in NBA history. You've put Kyrie, who's been divisive and catastrophic himself, right? He attempted to do so with Cleveland. They got him out of town. He definitely did so in Boston. Those young guys wanted him out. And now he's with the Brooklyn Nets. And the only thing he's brought is more drama, more bad, negative PR because of his actions. And the same thing with Kevin Durant, which Kevin Durant was quiet the first year. Then he would say things, Twitter beefs here with little kids, X, Y, and Z. And now this year he wants a trade out. He wants to leave. The coach that he hand selected ain't good enough. The GM that hired the coach and made all the moves that you wanted, oh, you want him out. Why? And I think he wants them out because he can't look them in the eye. I think he wants those guys out because he is not willing to take accountability for his failures. He wants to blame his failures, getting swept in the first round by the Boston Celtics. He wants to blame that on Steve Nash. See, that works when you're dealing with people that don't watch the game and can't break the game down like we can. I see the offense that's being ran. He switched to an offense that you're already familiar with, Kevin Durant. You were already familiar with that offense. They were running a defensive style that you recommended. And this is where a lot of the players in that organization, this is where there was a divide. Because KD and Kyrie were having too much say-so on how the organization was being ran. Not just how the organization was being ran, but how the team played. Remember, Kyrie Irving and KD were having their own separate practices after Steve Nash had practice, probably so they could implement their own thing because they didn't think Steve Nash was doing it right. This was a Kyrie Irving who said, oh, we don't need a coach. We can just do it all together. And as KD and Kyrie tried to do it as one, do it on their own, tried to run an organization, this train has wrecked like we've never seen before. Right? KD and Kyrie Irving are two of the most talented basketball players in NBA history, hands down. We will never see talents like them before. But when we talk about the stuff that the greatest players are made of, when you talk about leadership, intangibles, intestinal fortitude, they lack all of those characteristics by a long shot, which is why those skill sets, when you don't pair them with a great leader or a great player, those skill sets are absolutely meaningless because they don't have the stuff that champions are made of. They don't have what LeBron has. They don't have what Steph Curry, Draymond, and Klay have. They don't have what the Jordans have, any of the champions, any of the greatest winners that we've ever seen. They don't have any of that. These are just two guys that like to hoop and hoop at their own terms and hoop on their own terms. Right? They don't want to be told what to do, when to do, how to do it. They want to run the ship. They want to run everything. And KD and Kyrie Irving, as you guys have tried to run the Brooklyn Nets, which is now clear, based on this simple request that KD has made, fire Steve Nash and fire Sean Marks. This tells me that they have been calling the shots all along from behind the scenes. If you have the balls to demand that type of firing from the owner, that means you've been asking the owner for all types of crazy stuff, and you've been getting away with it. You guys, man, I definitely want you guys to chime in on this in the comments. I want your thoughts on this situation with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. When you talk about putting a stain on the game of basketball, right? When you talk about it being an embarrassment to all of the players in the NBA, this is embarrassing what they're doing right now. Because other players, other teams are looking at KD and Kyrie saying, we literally watched an organization try to give you guys everything that you asked for and spend a ton of money in trying to do so. And this is how you repay that organization? By muddying an entire summer with negative publicity based on you demanding trades, or Kyrie saying he wants to be in LA, or when he's done with his contract, he's going to LA, and KD demanding a trade, or not just a trade, but I'll stay if you fight. This is how you repay your organization that's done absolutely everything that you wanted. I want you guys to tell me one thing that this organization has failed to do for Kyrie Irving and KD. They allowed Kyrie Irving to sit out as many games as he needed to because of the vaccine mandate. The year before, they allowed him to take some random time off, and while he's attending birthday parties in the middle of a pandemic. Right? KD's still getting injured. They allow him more than enough time to come back from those injuries and rehab. When he needed to sit and when he asked to sit, they let him sit. Everything that they've asked for, they've gotten. Right? When they wanted Jared Allen out because they thought the era of that big man was done, they got rid of Jared Allen. When they asked that organization to sign the bum in DeAndre Jordan to $60 million, they signed DeAndre Jordan to $60 million. What have they not done? They've given you everything that you've asked for, and then when it fails, you guys want to run and jump ship and start blaming and pointing at everyone else as if they're the problem. And then on top of that, you try to deny and reject reports that have been true all along. It's starting to become a sad state of affairs. I think that these things right here are going to definitely impact how KD is viewed once he retires, right? Especially now that the teams that you're leaving, teams that these players are leaving, LeBron has won a chip without Kyrie since he left Cleveland. Steph Curry has won a chip since KD departed. They've won a chip. They've had a level of success. We see how they're blossoming and developed it in teams around them. The Lakers had some troubles this past year, but they're still in a pretty good situation if they can get healthy. Much better situation than the Brooklyn Nets. So projections have come out saying that they project the Brooklyn Nets to be 40-42. They project them to be 9th in the Eastern Conference. And I agree. I agree. There's no way this team could be successful. If you're the owner, you may have to bite the bullet, but you have to get, if not one, both of these guys out of town ASAP. And if it calls for a rebuild, fine. But this is another situation. This is another piece of evidence that tells me that the era of super teams is over. The super team era is over. It no longer works. It's no longer feasible. It gives too much power to the top players. And when those players want out, you're completely screwed, even if you've done everything that they've asked. And this will affect the next bargaining agreement when the CBA expires. This will affect it. The owners will look to get control back. And so by doing all these things now, you're going to negatively impact a lot of players going forward in the future because of the selfish acts that you're doing now. And that's directly to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But you guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this topic. Is Kevin Durant justified in demanding a trade or demanding that Nash and these other guys are fired? You just let me know. Like I said, this is my take. You guys can have a completely different take. I want to hear everybody's thoughts on this in the comments. All right, but it's FYF Sports, man. It's been another great podcast episode. This is your daily commute show. You can watch us on Audible, Amazon Music, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Samsung Podcasts. We're everywhere. And don't forget to tune in to our YouTube show. We have FYF Sports Debates, and we have our new channel specifically for live streams, FYF Sports Debates Live. 2 channels on YouTube, a channel on Twitter. I mean, we're literally all over the place. Record numbers on that YouTube platform. Let's look to do the same thing over here on Spotify and some of the other audio-based platforms. But again, I appreciate you guys tuning in for today's show. You guys make sure you spam up the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this particular topic, because this is definitely a topic that we will be going live about to discuss on FYF Sports Live. But it's FYF Sports. It's been another great podcast episode. We will be back with more sports and news. But until then, it's FYF Sports, and we out.
Talking like you really bad at it's internet. FY Sports and the colors a minute, man. Talking about sports and debates, how'd your feelings yet? Lace up the kids, cause we stepping on next to him. Number 1 sports debate, know that we killing it, always 100. So stay on my Benjamin, fearing no man, cause my God about the business. Yeah, Kwame and ticket, we pray for the sinners. Yeah, want all the smoke, but be acting like kids again. FYF gang, and you know we don't switch on that talk on the live, but you won't ever mention me. Claiming we fucks, but you trying to go dissing me. I am a dog, came for the streets, feel like I'm weight, cause I'm feeling the heat. All of my subs, they know they peeps. Here's the